Well, good morning. Welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting, the January 7th meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we're going to begin with the roll call.
Supervisor Bredefield.
Here.
Supervisor Chavez.
For the first time here.
Supervisor Mendez.
I think I'm here.
Supervisor Pacheco.
Here.
Chairman Magzig.
And I'm here.
All present. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the Invocation Pledge of Allegiance, and today District 4 is responsible for the pledge. So, Buddy Mendez, I want to turn it over to you.
Okay, it's my pleasure to welcome back my friend Pastor Stuart Jones. He's the lead pastor of the Crothers Nazarene Church. Pastor Stuart has lived in Fresno County since 1987. He has a real heart for his community. He's a hard worker for Crothers, which is evident for almost 20 years in ministry. Pastor Stewart and his wife Gigi have been married for over 35 years. They have 3 sons and 3 grandchildren. Welcome back, Pastor Jones.
As we pray and remain standing as we do the Pledge of Allegiance after that. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be here this morning. And we ask that your blessings would be upon us in this new year. And we ask that you would be with each of the supervisors as they do the job that you have called them to do and to be the person you have called them to be. And Lord, we just ask that you would be with each one of us who sit in the audience month after month and encourage them and help them in their needs that they have. And we just ask that you would be with each one of us and on this special day that you have called us to be here. And Lord, we just thank you and we praise you. In your Son's name, Jesus. Amen. Amen. Let's do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Item number 1, administering of the oath of office to Supervisors Nathan Magzig, Gary Bredefield, and Luis Chavez.
We are going to administer the oath one at a time because I know that each of us have groups of individuals that we'd like to take pictures with, as well as individuals to administer that oath. So we're going to begin with Supervisor Gary Bredefield. So if you could maybe introduce who you have here today to administer the oath, and then we'll take care of that and get some quick pictures.
Yes, I have Presiding Judge Horry Sanderson here to administer the oath, and my wife Susan and son Jordan, if they'll come up too. Okay.
Ready?
Yes,
On?
I think it's on.
Sounds like it. Raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
I, Gary Bredefield,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic.
that you will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that you take this obligation
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and you will
and I will,
well and faithfully
well and faithfully,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which you are about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Judge. Thank you. Yeah, Susan, Jordan. Take a picture. Gary, I'll hold that. Oh, thanks.
On 3,
All right, next we're going to have Supervisor Nathan Magsig. And before I come up to have the oath administered, I want to introduce my son, Mason Magsig, who's here, who will be standing with me. Don't worry, Bernice, I have the mic.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Nathan Magsig,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that you will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic.
that you will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that you take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion.
and that you will
I will
well and faithfully discharge
well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which you are about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Thank you. Next, we will have Luis Chavez. And Luis, if you can introduce the people who will be administering the oath to you today, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to call up my family and then my labor family, Riley Telford, Ella Williams, Gloria Benavé, Silva Correa, and Elizabeth. All right.
All right, go ahead, raise your right hand. Testing. Okay. I state your name.
I, Luis Chavez,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that you will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that you will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that you take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that you will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well faithfully discharge
the duties upon which you are about to enter.
the duties about which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
I don't need this mic.
I'll get mine now on three. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. I'm gonna do one more over here. Are we done?
We bring our own camera crew.
All right, next on the agenda is the designation of officers. And Fresno County, we are a charter county. And so the way that we rotate the chairmanship and vice chairmanship is in accordance with county charter. So at this time, I would like to congratulate my colleague Buddy Mendez, who is our current vice chair, who is going to be the incoming chair, and I will change seats with him.
I'll accept your condolences too. I'll do the.
That's a-
We always have kind of a tradition that we give the outgoing chairman. I got so many papers in front of me, I don't know what the heck I did with that one. We usually give them a gift and a plaque. And so I'm going to start on behalf of the Board of Supervisors. I'm going to present you with this gavel. And I don't know, is this your second time you were chair?
Second,
Yeah. And then I have some gifts. This is another tradition that we do. And on a personal note, we know Nathan loves cycling. And last year, when he was riding, he had a really bad fall. And this wasn't the first time. I think I was talking to my son about this before, and he had told Nathan that, Nathan, we need to get you a set of training wheels, because about every year he has a big fall. This guy is actually a great biker. I mean, I'm talking, he gets up in the morning and goes on 50-mile rides. It's not, he's not out there in a tricycle. That's for darn sure. So I'm going to start off with my first gift, which is a set of training wheels. And that was actually Vicky Days had kind of reminded me about it. And then second, I've got it's a shirt, but this is something he can use while riding. And it's got his name in the front with a bunch of pictures of him actually riding.
Oh, that's very good.
And in the back it says, we ride in District 5, and this is all the cities that and unincorporated communities that Nathan represents. So.
Now, this is probably one of the most thoughtful gifts I could ever receive, and I appreciate it. And I think in all these pictures, only one of them I've got broken bones, so that's good. Thank you, buddy.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to allow the board members to speak, and I'm going to start with Gary Bredefeld.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank everyone here who took the time out of their day to share in our swearing-in ceremony. I want to thank my former colleagues and friends at City Hall who are here today, Mayor Dyer, council members Carbasi, Maxwell, Perea, Esparza, I hope I'm not missing anybody, City Manager White, City Attorney Jans, my former Chief of Staff, Nicole Demir, and Gail Pifarini. I think they're here to make sure that I'm not coming back to City Hall. I want to congratulate Supervisor Chavez for his incredible, hard-earned, and well-deserved victory. I also want to congratulate Supervisor Nathan Magzik for his strong re-election victory and thank him for his warm welcome that he's extended to me. Likewise, I appreciate the welcome and support that I have received from our CEO, Paul Nerlin, and his staff, as well as our clerk, Bernice. I also want to recognize both Steve Brandow and Sal Quintero for their many years of service to the people of the city of Fresno and Fresno County. Their public service made a positive difference for many people. I want to thank the people who made this day possible for me. First and foremost, I want to thank my family. My fantastic wife of 41 years, Susan, who has always supported me in all of my crazy endeavors, and as have my two sons, Jordan and Derek. All of us who run for public office know the tremendous sacrifice our families make due to our absence. I also want to thank the people of District 2, which encompasses Northeast and Northwest Fresno, Central Fresno, and a portion of Clovis. Visiting your homes, I was uplifted by your prayers, your encouragement, and discussing the hopes and dreams you have for our community. I can assure you that I will continue to be your voice and work tirelessly on your behalf with honesty and integrity. Most importantly, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for his grace and sacrifice for me. 10 years ago on this day, January 7th, 2015, I underwent an 8-hour surgery to move cancer at Stanford. At that time, I was concerned about whether or not I would ever live. I could never have imagined 10 years later to the day I'd be sworn in as vice chairman of the Fresno County Board of Supervisors, and I know that it's only through his grace that I'm here today. My life has been about public service. I spent 27 years helping veterans as a clinical psychologist at the VA, 3 years as a naval lieutenant in the military, and 12 years as a Fresno City Council member. Now as a supervisor, I recognize the significant challenges we face: increased homelessness, destructive policies coming out of Sacramento that hurt our children, make our communities unsafe, promote bigger government, and weaken criminal laws. These issues demand strong, principled leadership. My new colleagues and I clearly want to improve our county, and each member has their own views on the best way to do that. We will often agree and sometimes strongly disagree. In my campaign, I pledged to bring real change, transparency, and accountability to the county. We accomplished that for the last 8 years at City Hall, and we'll do the same thing here at the Board of Supervisors. I will not be deterred from accomplishing these goals, and will never back down from doing what I believe is right and important for the people I serve. With these goals in mind, I will work to ensure, number one, that future Fresno County budgets will be presented to the public in more transparent ways. Each department director should publicly present his or her budget to the Board of Supervisors so the public can be involved in the process, and the budget can be discussed and debated publicly by the Board of Supervisors and the taxpayers that fund the budget. We're dealing with $5 billion of taxpayer money, and they should and must be involved in how their money's being spent. Number two, the public should never be restricted to only 15 minutes to discuss any item on the agenda, which is currently the policy of the board. Under the First Amendment of the Constitution, the people have a right to address their government and express any grievance or concern they may have. I will oppose any efforts to restrict our citizens from addressing the Board of Supervisors to only 15 minutes. We work for the public, they don't work for us. Number three, the county is currently supporting the handing out of 20,000 free needles, they're not free, and crack pipes to drug addicts every weekend. That means 1 million needles and large numbers of crack pipes are handed out to drug addicts every year in Fresno County with taxpayer money. You know why they're handing out crack pipes to these addicts? Because they feel it's safer for the addict to smoke fentanyl than shoot it up with needles. It's absolutely insane. As a clinical psychologist who has treated people with addictions in the past for many years, I know that this program does not reduce harm as their supporters state, but in fact, in reality, it exacerbates and facilitates their ongoing drug addiction. That is why I'm strongly opposed to this program, and I will do everything to end it. 4, Fresno County must do a much quicker and more efficient job of counting votes after elections. Every election, it takes 30 days to count ballots, which is completely unacceptable. 1 month. Florida, with nearly 23 million people, have ballots tabulated the same day. Yes, there are different rules between the two states, but we can and must do better. I also intend to bring forward a ballot measure similar to the one successfully passed in Huntington Beach that will require voter identification at the polls and allow cities to increase in-person voting sites. 5, every employee in Fresno County should be treated with respect and dignity. That has not always been the case, and this has been clearly evident with SEIU, in-home healthcare workers, or social workers with excessive caseloads that make it difficult to provide the care and service needed to their clients. That is completely unacceptable and will not be tolerated. Number 6, during the COVID pandemic, we had county medical officials practically every week spewing disinformation and encouraging the destructive lockdowns that hurt businesses, destroyed livelihoods, and were frankly unconstitutional. These officials also supported keeping kids out of school for several years, and the damage to those children is still being felt today. I also believe in personal freedom and responsibility. Unfortunately, a new order from Fresno County's interim health officer, this order I'm holding right here, infringes on the personal freedoms and choices of healthcare personnel throughout Fresno County. This order, issued August 28, 2024, is effective from November 15, 2024 to March 31st, 2025, a full 4.5 months that requires hospitals, health clinics, and medical personnel to, quote, implement a program requiring its healthcare personnel to receive an annual influenza vaccination, end quote. In essence, all doctors, nurses, support staff, dental personnel, laboratory personnel, students, clerical, dietary, etc., are required to get the flu vaccine whether they want it or not. If they don't get the vaccine, they must wear a mask every day for 4.5 months. If they do get the vaccine, they're required to wear a blue badge identifying they got the shot or be punished if they don't. I know of several nurses that have lost their ability to work because they refused to get the shot. This is unacceptable now, just as it was during COVID, and I will personally fight for the rights of people to make their own decision without being punished for their decision. Moreover, the interim health officer has made this order continue indefinitely for future years, and this should be rescinded. Number 7, no longer will political opponents be sued using county lawyers or taxpayer money be wasted in such an irresponsible way. I do, however, support the county legally challenging the state when they enact policies that are destructive to our county or hurt our residents, just as many other cities and counties have done. Number 8, I will ensure that a more collaborative, productive, and respectful relationship between the Board of Supervisors and with the city of Fresno, the 5th largest city in California, and its elected leaders. We must never forget that when Fresno or any other city in the county thrives, Fresno County thrives. Lastly, as you can tell, this chamber is too small. And there are many problems with this I got applause for that line? Lastly, as you can tell, it's too small. There are many problems with this nearly 100-year-old building, including security issues, elevators that at times don't work, and a facility that just doesn't meet the needs with a county population of 1.1 million people today. For at least 40 years, a new building should have been built, and I strongly support getting that accomplished. We already have $41 million set aside to accomplish this, and we need to move forward with this quickly. These are clearly difficult and challenging times, but I have no doubt we'll be successful if we stand and fight for the principles and values that have made our cities, Fresno County, and this nation great. I will continue that fight and never back down, ever. I will continue to strongly support our law enforcement, support all our employees who provide the hard work and services to our constituents, work collaboratively with other leaders, my colleagues, and cities to deal effectively with the homeless problem and other challenges we face. I will ensure that taxpayer money is spent wisely and in a transparent fashion, and ensure that the economy and agriculture in Fresno County continues to thrive and remains healthy. I again thank all of you for being here, and may God continue to bless Fresno County and the United States of America, the greatest nation on earth. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next, Luis Chavez. Hopefully, you're not going to give a dissertation, too.
Now you know we're so awake at the city when Councilmember Bredefeld first. It's hard to follow the Bredefeld 10 Commandments, but I'm going to I'm gonna shoot here.
It was 9.
9 commandments. First of all, I want to, and I had written this really long speech on a plane ride, but I decided not to use that. I'm going to just speak from the heart because that's what got me in this seat. But I do want to thank my family, Elizabeth, Pedro, my sister, my mom and dad that are watching at home on YouTube, my daughters as well. They put up with a lot for over a year and a half. I knocked on 19,765 doors, but who's counting? And got a chance to speak, on a one-to-one level with our constituents. I represent an area now that encompasses a good chunk of the city of Fresno. We have a lot of challenges in our community, from homelessness to poverty to record unemployment to, we have zip codes where people we know live less years than in more affluent neighborhoods. And for me, that's what it's always been about. It's always been about people. Yes, we'll have discussions and disagreements, but I'm actually looking forward to working with my colleagues. I have a respect for every single one of them. And to the employees of the County of Fresno, I want to let you know that, I see you, I respect you, I appreciate the work that you do. To the social workers that work, long caseloads, that, are responsible for ensuring the safety of traumatized children, I want you to know that you'll have a voice with me. To the home care workers that take care of our most vulnerable populations, people that are blind or have a disability or have a mental health condition that prevents them from, being just out in our community. You're the only lifeline that they have, and I know that, and I understand that, and I want you to know that you'll have a voice in me as well. And then also want to speak to the constituents that elected me. Thank you for entrusting me with this responsibility. I take that very seriously. To the people that did not vote for me, I will work hard to earn your support, to earn your trust. And I do also want to thank my previous colleagues that are here as well, council members from the city of Fresno, and our mayor. I saw our mayor here. He's hard to miss with that shiny head. Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership and for your support. We've done a lot of great things over at the city. We're going to continue to do that. We hope to work collaboratively with you. We've already spoken to our CAO. I know that our staff work already on some issues, but I think as a policymaker, I'm going to always be respectful of our managers here. That's not my role. I'm not a manager. I'm a policymaker, and that's what I really plan to focus on. And again, the last thing I'll say is the pandemic changed me as an elected official, because I saw what lack of access to healthcare does to a community, particularly a community that was deemed essential but got treated as disposable. I went to 21 funerals from people in my district during the pandemic, people that I feel could have been prevented if we had a more stronger public health system to take care of those folks. So with that, I'll close by once again, thanking the constituents, my family, all our folks that, had a part in doing this. We had a lot of folks out there knocking on doors. I'm going to honor that. And the best way to honor that is to roll up our sleeves and get to work. So with that, Chairman Mendez, thank you, and look forward to working with you. Look forward to working with Supervisor Pacheco, Magzig, our CAO, all our folks. Thank you so much, and again, thank you to my family, and thank you to my labor family. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Nathan, it's your turn.
Well, heard a lot already this morning. Excited about the future. And I want to begin by welcoming my colleagues here. I recognize that elections, the people, we serve at the will of the public, and I'm excited to work with both of you. Clearly, your hearts are positioned in a way where you want to make Fresno County a better place. And I think all of us up here have the exact same desire. Life is about priorities, and when you get your priorities right, things seem to work out. But when you get your priorities screwed up, your life's a little bit more difficult. So for me, at the top of that pyramid is my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And really appreciate all that God has done in my life, because I recognize just getting up in the morning, being able to see a sunrise, that's not a guarantee, it's a gift. And I've been blessed to do that in my life and do that this morning. one particular verse, Proverbs 3:5, I think is very apropos in my life, the different challenges that I face. But Proverbs 3:5 is quite simply, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. So my plan for my life in this next term is to do just that. Also, life being about priorities, family needs to be a second position to your Creator, and then from there, your work needs to be number 3. If you get the first 2 right, you can be very effective in what you do in your position. And I can tell you that here in Fresno County, we've got many different challenges. But I want to remind the audience. Fresno County is more than one city. We actually are 15 cities. We are an area that's 6,000 square miles. The city of Fresno is half of the population of the county, but makes up only 1/60th of the landmass. And so as we take a look at the challenges and just the incredible beauty of this county, the many different challenges, I think it's important for us to be mindful of the fact that as we vote on issues, we have to be keeping the entire county in mind, whether it be the most populated city or the smallest city that we have, the richest cities that we have or the poorest cities that we have, because we represent all of Fresno County, which, as it was stated, is 1.1 million people. A few things I want to talk about, and I've been very pleased to have an opportunity to serve with my current colleagues here, as well as my colleagues who have left this board. In the last 5 years, more infrastructure has been developed than in the last 50. And it's already been alluded to. We're in a building where half of it was built in 1935, and this half that we're in here was built in 1955. And really not much is upgraded in this facility. One of the reasons you haven't seen a new building being done is this board's prioritized the Sheriff's Department. We've prioritized the District Attorney's Office. We've prioritized social services. So if you look at the Social Services Department, they're on a new campus occupying Pelco buildings, which are 100 times better than what we occupy. And I think it's important for us to remember as elected officials that we need to take care of our employees first when it comes to facilities, when it comes to wages, and then we can deal with ourselves last. And so I think one of the reasons why we're not in palatial facilities right now is the current board that we have has been focusing on trying to play catch up, because previous boards have not thought infrastructure was a place where we needed to be investing resources. But each one of us is one supervisor. We each carry one vote. But that one vote is so critical. And where we are strongest to send messages, whether it be to Washington or Sacramento, is when we are all united. And I know that's not going to happen all the time. But my goal for this upcoming term is to, where possible, to speak with one voice, because that's where we can create the biggest gain. So I'm excited to be here today. I love you, son. I'm glad that you're here. My sweet baby love, my wife is hard at work. I told her not to come because, as you know, school is back in session for Clovis Unified today. Kids are back there for the first time since winter break. I said, honey, be with the kids, because the kids are more important than my ceremony. Otherwise, she would be here today. But I consider it an honor to be here before you, and thank you, Chairman, for the time.
Brian?
Well, I have the history of saying the least, and I think with our 2 current members, I will retain that title. Again, Supervisor Magsig, as always, appreciate your professionalism, your succinctness. Appreciate you leading this board last year. We had a lot of difficult topics that you handled always with skill and grace, as you've just demonstrated with your comments there. I will welcome our new colleagues, welcome you to the other side of the street. I think you will find it is a lot different. We all have our hopes and our thoughts and our expectations, and then when you come over here, reality sets in. I couldn't agree more with Supervisor Magsig in that we all would like to have new facilities and new things, but this board has prioritized all of our departments and all of the people that work for us first. And as leaders, to set a good example, we're last. And we have done that. We have been very, very conscientious of setting money aside, passing balanced budgets, making the appropriate reserves, so that when that rainy day comes, that we all know is coming, we will be much more prepared than we were in the past, and we won't have the widespread layoffs, payroll cuts, and those things because of the hard work that's not very attractive, doesn't get many headlines, but it's the work that people demand and expect. And in the end, that's what the people will appreciate most when we deliver on what government is supposed to do. So again, I know Supervisor Bredefield announced some of the people here. I again want to express my appreciation for Council Member Annalisa, Tyler, and Mike, who helped with this county board negotiate a tax share agreement, which has been on the sidelines for 4 years. That is clearly a demonstration of people working together, and hope to continue that in the future, and appreciate all that you three did, as well as all the council that voted for it, for the successful passing of that, which again moves the city and county relationship forward, which, as Councilman Bredefield said, is in the best interest of every resident here. And again, Supervisor Magsig, while you represent the city of Clovis, Supervisor Mendez and I represent all of the rural cities, and appreciate your acknowledgement that our little cities are just as important as the big one that we all know who is the big one. So with that, appreciate everyone being here. Welcome my 2 new colleagues, and see what lies ahead for us. Supervisor Mendez.
Okay. I'm actually a little shorter than Brian when it comes to giving speeches. I want to welcome the new board members. Talked to you previously before that. Actually showed Gary, took him down to the garage, said, this is where you park.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not all bad. But, before I get going, I want to thank my family for putting up with me doing this. I have a nice, quiet life at home, and this didn't help it. This is I'm going into my 11th year, and I want to thank them for coming. And I want to thank, everybody from the city that came today that me and Brian worked with, Tyler, Annalise, and
Mike.
And I don't see Mike's not here. But I think that was a lot of work. I think we made a lot of progress from day one. There was always respect. And I want to thank Henry Perea for coming. And of course, Jerry Dyer, a longtime friend, and Georgianne White. Thank you for coming. One thing about this form of government opposed to the city, this is a completely different form of government. The supervisors are the legislative and executive branch all rolled up into one. Because we hire and fire 2 people. They're sitting up on this dais with us. One is the CAO of the county, and he leads all the departments, but we have direct access to all the departments. This is a little bit different than across the street. And if you want to talk to a department head, you can pick the phone up and call them anytime, and they will respond. We only have one department head that we don't hire and fire, and he sits in the back, and that's our probation chief, and he's actually hired and fired by the judges. So I just want to make that clear. Well, we got a good one, and the judges actually allowed me and former CAO Rousseau to actually participate in the selection committee, which was great of the judges to do that. I just, we talked about facilities, and there's the elephant in the room is that building that's sitting over there that nobody liked that got built, and that was the courthouse. This is, until we get that kind of solved, whether the state's going to build a new courthouse or not, we might end up with that area back someday. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see how that plays out. But like Brian and Nathan said, we always use our employees first. We made sure that they were in good facilities. We had at one time, Social Services Department was in 40 buildings throughout the city. And we almost moved everybody today into that into the new campus at Palco, where Palco was. We had the DA who was in several buildings, and we were able to, thanks to Ed Cashin, who's here, put him in a new building, a reconstructed new building. That's actually a new building. That's the old Rao building, but it's just on the face, it's the Rao building. That was a great job that Mr. Cashin did. They completely gutted the inside of that building. That is a new building today. It's not an old building. Just looks old from the outside, or restored, classic. So anyway, we've got a lot of work to do. Like I said, I'm not a long talker, but I'll tell you, I'm not as nice as Nathan. Nathan was a great chairman, always very gracious. Some of the things that I don't like in life are bloviators and show ponies. So with that, I think we'll get back to our meeting, and thank you.
We now,
Move now for approval of the agenda.
I'll move for approval.
Got a motion for a second?
Chair Mendez, point of order. I do have to recuse myself on item 22. Legal counsel, do I do that when the item gets discussed, exit, or do I stay on the dais?
It's on the consent, so it'd be
Yeah.
appropriate for you to pull 22 and handle that
Right.
separately.
Okay, we'll get to that. But thank you for thinking ahead there, Luis. So I'll bring the question. All in favor, so by saying aye for the agenda.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll move to now the consent agenda item, which you'll need to pull 22.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd like to pull item 22 and register a recusal due to the proximity of that to my primary residence per our legal counsel. Thank you.
Okay. And, okay, these matters are, we need to, are routine in nature. I'm going to go out to the public. Does anybody in the public want to pull a consent item?
Good morning. I'd like to pull item 23.
23?
23. 23.
Okay. Okay, so for the rest of the consent items, I'm going to look for a motion.
I will move for the remainder of the consent items, except for 22 and 23, that have been pulled.
Somebody want to second that? Okay, got a second. All in favor, so by saying aye on the balance.
Aye.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, item 22 and 23 will follow item 7. We now move to item number 5 under the Board of Supervisors. Approve the chairman's 2025 appointments of board members to various boards, commissions, and committees as presented in Exhibit A in your packet. Each year, the board formally approves their committee assignments. If your board wishes to make changes to the list, they may do so at this time.
okay, I'll wait a couple seconds here for the room to finish clearing.
Congratulations, Mr. Bredefeld.
Okay, we're going to start. One thing is I'm firm but fair. So this is the chairman's assignments. I'll move to the board for comments. Anybody on the board?
Yeah, I just would make one comment. I don't know about Supervisor Chavez, the Behavioral Health Committee. I don't know if you have an interest. I was wondering if you might be willing to switch that. Obviously, my background as a clinical psychologist might be something that would be of benefit. If we could switch something out, if maybe you can look in the list that I've got.
Yeah, I'm agreeable to that, Councilmember Butterfield, Supervisor Butterfield. If you'd like to sit on that, I'd be more than happy to.
That's
have some of that.
something we can figure out later, Chairman?
Yeah, we can figure it out
Okay,
later.
we will discuss it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, is there any public comment on item 5, the chairman's assignments? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
I'll move for approval.
Second?
Second. Okay, all in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We'll move to item 6.
We now move to item number 6, under Auditor, Controller, Treasurer, Tax Collector, appoint a member of the Board of Supervisors to serve on the Countywide Oversight Board for Redevelopment Successor Agencies for an indefinite period.
Okay. Is there any comment or any, we got to designate somebody, Brian?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I've served on this for the last number of years following Supervisor Pachigian. With the rotation and the new members, again, I think it'd be appropriate now to rotate that as well, and believe one of the 2 new colleagues would be best suited for that. I believe according to our schedule, it was set up for Supervisor Butterfield to participate in that. It does include the City of Fresno, one of the rural cities, the City College, and I believe the Flood Control District. So I believe that's on the schedule, and if Supervisor Butterfield is okay with that, would make that a motion.
Okay. Second? Okay, got a motion and a second. Is there any public comment? Were you going to do a
I was
presentation?
going to do a presentation.
You
Good
know
morning,
me,
Deputy Auditor.
I cut right to the chase.
Yeah. There was, so basically it was just to have the board appoint a member for the Countywide
Right.
Oversight Board, so.
Okay.
And then for my 2 new colleagues as well, we are a public member short. We have advertised for 2 years, but maybe you would have somebody. We need a member at large to serve on that. It had previously come from District 2. That person had resigned, and for 2 years, that position has been vacant. So if we could find someone to fulfill that, it's a lot easier to have a quorum and conduct the business of that committee if we can find someone.
How often does that meet?
It meets about twice a year.
Okay.
It's really not a huge time commitment. They're
Sure.
generally an hour in length, but it is very important to all of our cities, especially the city of Fresno, for all of those remnant properties that they need an agreement on. It's called the ROPS agreement. Again, one of those things that are off most people's radar, but very important to the cities throughout the county.
Okay, so is there any public comment? We're going to name Supervisor Bredefeld to that position. Hearing none, I got a motion on the floor. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
We now move to item number 7 under the Administrative Office. Conduct the first hearing to amend the Fresno County Ordinance Code Title II Administration, Chapter 2.09 Information Technology Services Department, and add Title II Administration, Chapter 2.11 General Services Department, and amend Title IV Revenue and Finance, Chapter 4.04 Purchasing Procedures.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ed Hill, your Chief Operating Officer and Interim Director of Internal Services Department. As you're aware, secondary to a vacancy in the department head role at ISD, I've been serving in the interim basis since May of last year. After thorough research and engagement with our consultants in peer counties, the decision to reorganize ISD into 2 separate departments has been reached: a General Services Department and an Information Technology Services Department. The decision stems from several factors. The combination of the 2 disciplines don't align well. This model doesn't exist in any other counties. And recruiting a leader who is a subject matter expert in both IT and facilities is problematic. The recommended actions are the second step in the county reorganization of the department. The reorganization will facilitate cleaner and simpler fee structure, allow us to shift administrative resources to facilities management, and hire subject matter experts in their respective fields to lead those departments. We'll be returning to your board on January 28th for the second hearing. We'll also be returning in March to amend the salary resolution and the staffing tables, which will be the final step. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the board.
Just some general comments. Ed, thank you for spending, I guess, the last year trying to tie up loose ends out there, and appreciate the recommendation here before us today. So I have no problem supporting this.
Yes, the only thing I would say is that I asked the CO when I met with them, and you explained exactly, why we're doing this. Wasn't clear to me initially in the staff report, but that's because you've already been doing this forward. So you've explained it for the public, and I appreciate that. And I'm ready to move forward too.
No, I want to thank you, Ed. You were, I guess, dealt a really bad hand. That was internal services had grown into a huge apparatus, and it was, in order to get it managed correctly, we had to, this is part of the process of trying to break it up. So,
Thank you.
yeah, but thank you for, that wasn't, I don't think when you came to work here, that was part of what you envisioned that you would do. And on top of being the COO, you get the special assignments.
That's my role.
Yeah. I'm going to ask for public comment on this item. Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
I made a motion. I'll make a motion in favor of staff's recommendation.
Okay. You got a second from Supervisor Chavez? All in favor, someone saying aye? Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
We now move to item number 8, Board of Supervisor Committee reports and comments.
Oh, you don't want to do 22? We gotta
Clerk,
do
what about
20.
the two consent?
Thank you. You corrected me. Item 22, pulled by Supervisor Chavez, who wishes to recuse himself from this item. This is under Internal Services, ratify the execution of First Amendment to Sale Purchase Agreement and escrow instructions for the county-owned surplus real property located at the northeast corner of Kings County Road and South Cedar Avenue, Fresno, California.
Thank you, Clerk. And for the benefit of the public, I will be recusing myself due to proximity of the property to my primary residence, and I will be stepping off the dais.
Okay.
I'll be standing by if you want a presentation, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, does anybody want a presentation? You want one, Gary? No. Okay. Does anyone want to make a public comment on this? Hearing none.
I'll move for staff's recommendation on it.
Second.
Second? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, someone saying aye?
Aye.
So 4-1 with one recusal.
Thank you. As our CAO
For him to come back before we do 23.
goes and gets Chavez, we'll now move on to item number 23 that was pulled by a member of the public. Under probation, approve and authorize the chief probation officer or his or her designee to execute a memorandum of understanding with neighboring county probation departments to provide and receive assistance in the event of a declared emergency which will necessarily affect the juvenile probation institution probation field services.
Good afternoon, Kirk Haynes, your Chief Probation Officer. Good morning, Chairman Mendez. Welcome to Supervisor Bredefield and also to Supervisor Chavez. Good to see all of you today. This item is a memorandum of agreement for emergency assistance. In essence, it's a mutual aid agreement with many of the Central Valley counties in the state of California to allow for mutual aid in case of a stated emergency in either in our county or in one of those other counties to be able to provide mutual aid to other counties, whether we could receive or would be able to provide mutual aid to other counties in those Central Valley counties. The item was initially set before your board on May the 21st, but I asked that it be deleted to allow for us some further discussions with Unit 11, which is our Deputy Probation Officer Association. We had that meeting on June 28th to address any concerns that the DPOA had regarding the agreement. The request from Unit 11 was that that we assign a Deputy Probation Officer 4, which is like a lead role type of an officer, or an assistant deputy chief, which is a management position, to any assignment where the department were to agree to respond to a request for assistance in one of the counties. We could not agree with that request, mainly because any department head or the chief probation officer should have management rights to be able to determine what level of supervision or what level of management needs to be deployed whether it be a situation where you're dealing with mutual aid, or any time I deploy staff or any kind of a program in the county or outside the county. And so the department is not prepared to negotiate away those management rights in order to satisfy the request from the DPOA. Those are my comments. I'm available for any questions as well.
Bring it back to the board. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what I heard you say is you did that meet and confer process. That was done, and appreciate you taking the time to meet with a representative of the unit who's here today as well. But I think we're going to have an opportunity to hear from him as soon as the public portion is open, but appreciate all the work that you do, so thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Well, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll open it up to the public.
Good morning. My name is Toribio Mondragon. I am president of Unit 11, Fresno County Deputy Probation Officers Association. I'm here, yes, to inform you guys that we did have our meeting with our chief, with our department, and what came across in that meeting, and just so the board's aware, we're not against us having an agreement with other counties to provide mutual aid if there's an emergency, just like there was at Paradise, where their probation department was pretty much decimated with the fires. We're all for helping each other out. That's for the common good of everyone, and even in our own county when we had our creek fire, a lot of us responded for the creek fire to help out the sheriff's department with some of the security concerns that were going on at the time. And we're more open to help out. Our concern with what was going on with this agreement was a lot of these, when reading the language in the MOA or the memorandum agreement, was that we'll be able to provide and send and receive if there is an issue with the institution. Our concern is that it goes beyond an act of God, which was what our department said. If it becomes an act of God, this is the only time we will use this. I kind of feel, we as understanding how we're reading this is that if another county, say one of the counties that we have right here would be Kings County, declares an emergency based off that they don't have the staffing available to house the juvenile hall or to manage the juvenile hall, that they can send them over here based on an emergency. That's our concern. That we're all for helping out if it's an emergency based off an act of God, not as something that was based off a lack of hiring or a lack of recruitment, which we are having too. So luckily our department was able to think ahead and hire new, we have reserve positions for the juvenile correctional officer series and all that, which Unit 11 isn't a part of, but we're all for that because it's helping us out. We're no longer working at the institution now. Hopefully to come this year, we also aren't working at the institution. We continue to provide services to field services and also for juvenile supervision, which I'm a part of. So again, we're not against helping out other counties. We're for it. I feel if there was an agreement, I don't understand why we're just limiting ourselves to these counties here to help these out when Madera, who's north of us, isn't even included in this. Additionally to this, once we are in agreement with the MOA, or once it is approved by the board, hopefully it opens new avenues to concern that we have in regards to protections for our employees. We're one of the few law enforcement agencies that aren't safety retirement, and hopefully to address issues like that. And hopefully we can just come into an agreement. Again, we're here because we're employed by the county, and we're happy for it, and we're willing to work for whatever we need to do. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Did you want to?
No, I didn't have anything more.
Okay. Any comment from the board or any?
Yeah, Chairman Mendez, just two questions for our chief. I'm trying to understand this issue, and I did meet with our CEOs on a time crunch, but this is essentially a mutual aid agreement. The concerns I just heard from our folks was that The triggers for this would be an act of God traditionally. However, that's not currently in the verbiage, correct? So it would be a declaration of emergency due to staffing shortages, things of that sort. What would be the concern? Would those employees that come over here to help or vice versa not be covered by the same rules, safety, guidelines, and provisions of the contract?
In the agreement, it is said that if we were to send staff over to that county, those officers would be subject to, whatever policies and regulations that they're following in that county. However, if there were any issues of non-compliance with those kinds of things by officers, I retain the ability to be able to, whether it have to be to discipline or to help correct those kinds of things. In regard to the question about what's the trigger, it's true that an act of God certainly could be that, but it could also be some of the challenges that we have where we had a stated emergency in our institution where hiring was just tough to do in our institution. So we did have our probation officers come in to help to alleviate the staffing issues until we could get those resolved. So there could be those kinds of things that other counties could ask us to do. But one thing that I will do, in any time that I would consider us using staff to go to other counties, whether it be for institutional purposes or for field services kind of purposes, is to look at what the impact will be to our county first. And then if we can provide assistance without it hurting our county, then we would certainly do that. But those would be all those things that we would take under consideration before we would deploy staff to another county.
So we would essentially exhaust all options within our own capacity before that would be triggered. Now, I do have some concerns because the gentleman brought up a good point with regards to safety protocols. Obviously, different counties have different procedures and safety procedures and things of that sort. Which one would supersede which in that situation?
And I believe DPO Mondragon was referring to safety retirement. The probation officers in our classification don't have safety retirement like our deputy sheriffs do. So I think he was alluding to, I could be wrong, but I think he was alluding to that fact that they don't have safety retirement, while other officers in other counties may have that. Despite that, the kinds of things that I would expect any chief probation officer who was going to be making a request to us to have done their due diligence, to make sure that they've done everything that they could do locally, to make sure that they've met all the needs that they could do without an assistance from others before we would render aid for them. So the chief probation officers in the Central Valley have agreed, those that are going to sign on to that agreement, that we would do that due diligence before we would make such a request.
No, I appreciate that. That's actually very helpful. Just last part. So in that situation where we have our own capacity being, what would happen if we did not have a mutual aid agreement in a situation where we have, whether it's an absence or just lack of recruitment and bodies there, what would be the contingency plan for that?
Well, part of the reason why I try to do things ahead of time, because it's hard to make decisions, not hard, but it just makes it more difficult. If we have to work out details like this in this kind of an agreement, there's certainly an ability for me to reach out to a chief, whether it be in the Central Valley or anywhere in the state, based on the relationships that we have now. But this kind of lays out what the expectations already are regarding, because it has some details about if we have a youth in our care for more than 30 days, all those kinds of things are already worked out, instead of me having to try to come to those agreements in the instance when we don't have such an agreement. So that's I think the benefit of having such a document to move forward.
Yeah, appreciate that, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, then we did public comment, so what are we going to do? Yep. You made a motion, Gary? Thank you. I'll second it. I'll call the question. All in favor, so I'm saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes all our consent items pulled from this morning. We return to our regular agenda. Item number 8, Board of Supervisor Committee reports and comments.
And this is for committees, but who wants to, do you want to start or?
Any comments?
Yeah,
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
yeah. I've already stated what I need to say. Okay, I think I'm. I'm done. I'm just, I serve on a lot of committees. A lot of them are groundwater stabilization agencies, and be another tough year and a lot of work. So I guess we just got to get to it. Okay, we'll move to item 9.
We now move to item number 9, board appointments.
I do have some, Mr. Chairman. I would like to reappoint Dr. Marcia Sablon to the Children and Families Commission of Fresno County for a term expiring on January 8, 2029. I would also like to appoint Dr. Marcia Sablon to the Measure B Library Sales Tax Panel, replacing Catherine Burrows for a term ending January 4, 2027. I would like to reappoint Bernadette Torres Silva to the Housing and Community Development Citizens Advisory Committee, representing Biola, for a term ending January 3rd, 2028. I'd like to reappoint Salvador Parra Jr. to the Housing Community Development Citizens Advisory Committee, representing Tranquility, for a term ending January 3rd, 2028. And lastly, I'd like to reappoint Sue Reese to the Housing and Community Development Citizens Advisory Committee, representing Easton, for a term ending January 3rd, 2028.
Okay, Nathan?
Yeah, and for my new colleagues, with the appointments, the way it works is typically, I believe, applications come in from people in the community. It's vetted by our clerk's office. You can always talk to the clerk about what applications have come in, who's making appointments, so there's nothing that ever really is any surprises. The challenge, of course, is I can't come and talk to you about these appointments. I have to make all my public comments here so I don't violate the Brown Act. So I wanted to chat with both of you guys about that. The only place I can do that is here. So for me, I've got 4 different categories of appointments to the Dunlap Cemetery District. I want to appoint Lonnie Work to the District 5 seat, formerly held by Wendy Hall, which expired on 1/6/2025. I want to appoint Ronald Pierce to the District 5 seat, formerly held by Dean Carlton, which expired on 1/6/25. To the Planning Commission, I want to reappoint John Arabian to the District 5 seat, which expired on 1/6/25. And to the Zoo Authority, I want to reappoint Peter Herzog to the District 5 seat, which expired on 1/6/25. And then to the Consolidated Mosquito Abatement District, I want to reappoint Mary Hill to the at-large seat, which expired on 12/31/2024. And those are my appointments at this time.
Well, thank you. I got just one question. Where does that leave you on openings on Dunlap?
So, actually, remember, I need 3 members, and I believe at this point, that cemetery district board, I either have 1 vacancy or it's full. So, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
We had that community meeting in November, and the community's like, hey, why didn't anybody tell us? I'm like, we've been sending you mail, we've been reaching out to you. So out of that community meeting we had in Dunlap, there were a group of people who wanted to get involved. So it looks like we're going to be able to reconstitute that board. So I'm very excited about that.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, me too.
No, it's, I have none today, but at least in mine and Brian's and Nathan's district, we have, cemetery districts that we have to appoint, the members to. So, I mean, that, in some instances, I share it with Brian, so, we will dialogue, just me and him, before we bring it to the board. But normally, it's just trying to get somebody to serve. That's the biggest deal right there. Because unfortunately, sometimes people go from the board to becoming permanent residents at the cemetery. So you have to continue to always look and look to refresh it. So anyway, you want to make a motion to
Mr.
approve
Chair,
this?
just a point of clarification, because I just heard for our clerk, did Mr. Hugo Morales submit an application for the First 5 Commission to be reappointed?
That name doesn't sound familiar to me, but I'll check with my deputy and get back to you.
Okay. He spoke to me and just wanted to confirm that once he does, we'd like to support him in that.
And just for clarification, normally, I believe don't they have to be on the actual agenda that they've
That's
had
correct.
completed
When we
their-
receive applications, all district offices will receive copies, and we do a limited vetting. We do not interview the individuals. We check to see where they live or where their business is, and we put that on the agenda. And if you see their name on the agenda, that means they are available for appointment.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, you'll get it. It's no, it's kind of a learning process. We all had to learn that.
Question?
Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, so the vetting process is simply just seeing if they meet just the basic requirements.
That's
the
correct.
vetting.
I will provide you with the management directive for boards, commissions, and committees, and it sets out all the guidelines.
Okay, and do all new applications come to the board? The
Yes.
people apply, I mean, we see their application?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just a question, like if you can look at the Zoo Authority, you have Christina Garabedian, says District 2. So I'm assuming she was already appointed in the past?
Yeah, so when you look at the committees will have terms. Some can be, a 2, 3, 4-year term on that committee. So at every meeting, you have an opportunity to make appointments. So there are people who are still serving through the rest of their term. So yeah, if you see people on boards, it's because they were appointed, whether it be a year ago, 2 years ago, sometimes even 3 years ago, and they're just finishing up their term.
So when it says it's vacant since 1/6/25, it is now vacant? Is that what it's saying?
As of today.
As of today? So
She
she's,
will serve until you appoint a new one.
okay,
Place her, yeah.
Till you replace it.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. I know, it's kind of yeah, it is. It takes a little time to learn it. And sometimes you think you know, and then it doesn't. So anyway, I need to finish this deal. Do we have a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the appointments. I got a second from Supervisor Bredefeld. All in favor? Is there any public comment on the appointments? All in favor is going to say an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried.
We now move to item number 10, public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board on any matter not on this agenda.
Okay, and this is stuff not on the agenda. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Jessica McKenzie. I'm an Iraq veteran and I'm a supervising juvenile correction officer. I was here in September asking for assistance due to an issue that was being handled with an injury I sustained as a worker. Instead, I left hopeful because I came to the board and I asked for help. I left hopeful because I knew you had the power. You talk about it this morning. You raised your hand with the oath just as I did when I served my country and I served behind the walls in the institution. Unfortunately, instead, I was introduced to the 6th attorney hired by the County of Fresno. This all has to do with the payroll errors while I was in treatment of approximately $28,000 while I was in treatment at the VA due to the failed system of the workers' comp. I didn't get treatment there, so the VA was my next bet. While I was getting in treatment, I realized that we have a problem, and it's not just me. As we know in public, we are talking about the deny, depose, defend, and in my case, it's also harassment and discrimination. I thought it was a mistake that was made, and the mistakes happen. We all make mistakes. We're human beings. But the mistake wasn't fixed. Nobody apologized for the mistake. I am now going through the court process. And the attorneys that are hired through the county, the 6th one is now requesting that a judge be removed because of their concern of it being unfair. We're wasting the county's paying dollar. We're wasting county money. We're creating an issue where the lack of support for employees is an issue. I was basically abandoned and isolated, removed, and I left on my own. I'm now defending myself while I'm dealing with my care and treatment at the VA because the system is broken. And you're going to go over your fraud and these grants that you get. I believe you need to put that money where it needs to be and out of the attorney's pockets and your higher ups and look at your education, treatment, and providing a safe environment for your employees to work in. I understand there's a lot of fear when it comes to mental health. I was scared too. It was a new diagnosis for me. I didn't know how to handle it. And I was reaching out for help. And as a supervising juvenile correction officer, I knew how to help the youth. You get them out of the cells. You flood them with services. You take them in. You let them know you're not alone. I was walked off the job, isolated, cut off, nothing. I mean, they were supposed to handle my payroll issues, and they failed. And I'm going to be cut off, but I will come back every time.
Okay,
I scheduled it for 2025. I'll be here for every board meeting.
thank you very much.
Okay, I'll see you in court.
Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome, new board members. My name is Mary Schluter, and I represent SEIU 2015 and Fresno County IHSS providers. I just would like you to consider what I have to say here. It's pretty short. When you take care of in-home supportive service providers, you take care of the people who are elderly and disabled who receive the in-home services. When you maintain quality in-home care, you allow people to stay at home instead of a costly institution. You also uphold and strengthen the family unit, which is the building block of the foundation of cities, counties, states, and countries. As we go forward into this new year, please consider the needs of IHSS providers in supporting themselves and their families as we support the building blocks of our communities. That's all I wanted to say. Just take it with you. Thank you so much. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Mike.
Chairperson Mendez, thank you so much. I'm Mike Carbasi. I'm a council member of the city of Fresno. This is my second time before this board, and believe me, I'm a little bit nervous. But sorry, I was outside because a lot of us, this was a packed room for a great morning. And I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate, see, I did the same thing. Supervisor Bredefeld, Supervisor Chavez. I can tell the rest of the board, it's been a pleasure working with both of you. Thanks to you both leaving, the average age of the council has fallen so low that I'm the second oldest now, believe it or not. But I will say, it's a real honor to see you up here. Thank you for all you've done at the city. And I will say this, this past year, I get to be the president, and I have the honor of doing that this next year. Thanks to Chairperson Mendez and Supervisor Pacheco, we worked really hard to negotiate a really good tax sharing agreement that I'm grateful that two former council members voted for. And I hope to continue that level of cooperation. The city and county actually do get along. People are hurting out there. There's a lot of challenges and problems, but we're going to do the hard work together. And again, congratulations to, I'm going to say it, Luis and Gary. That's easier. So thank you both. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much for coming down here.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman, what we just witnessed here today is a requirement by the federal Constitution of the United States of America. It's required that you swear an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and also the Constitution of the state of California. The question you need to ask yourself is, which is the supreme law of the land? When Abraham Lincoln dedicated the Gettysburg Field on November 19, 1863, he said 77 years ago. You go back 87 years and the establishment of this government is in 1776. The Constitution is made to constitute natural law where government cannot interfere with the right of the people concerning inalienable rights, rights that are given by God. In the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." You cannot have liberty and pursuit of happiness, Mr. Chairman, without having life first. Liberty to what? Even the state constitution makes allusion to an inalienable right, a right to defend yourself. You need to consider, when you get appointed, when you ran for the election, Mr. Chavez, you really got my mailbox full. I didn't vote for you, I voted for myself, because I know what the Constitution says, and it's not hard to understand it. It's a document that has words, and words have meanings. And if you swear an oath, every one of you, to protect and defend that, you better consider which one is the superior. Mr. Nerland, you know which one is superior. Now there is a new mandate. Make America great again. On January 20th, noon Eastern, according to the 22nd Amendment, now we got an inauguration, and things will change, hopefully. It is the time for the people who are the true keepers of the Constitution to hold each one of you accountable for the things you did during COVID, telling me to obscure my breathing. How in the world are you protecting life when 20% of my oxygen intake is taken away by wearing a paper diaper? Did you read the ingredients of the vaccine? Do you know your favorite drink at the bar? You know what goes in it. In a margarita, you know what's in it. If the tequila's not there, you know it's not. Take a look at the ingredients. I have a right to refuse. You need to protect that right, because every right that you need to protect is God-given. That's why it's called a constitution. Your behavior is bound to the Constitution, so act that way. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Bredefeld. You're the only one that I've seen stand up, even though you were the Lone Ranger.
Right. Superman.
Good day, gentlemen.
Okay, that's it for,
At this time, Mr. Chairman, you can take public comment for closed session items 11 through 13.
is there any public comment on closed session?
Through your Constitution.
Hearing none. We'll move to,
Mr. Cedarborg, is there,
do we need a motion to go to close?
Mr. Cedarborg, do you
Or
anticipate?
we need the legal disclaimer of going to close?
Mr. Chairman, we do not anticipate any announcements out of closed session, so if the board chooses, it would be appropriate to adjourn following closed session.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second? Okay, all in favor, so we're saying aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Well, thank you very much for coming today, and from this, we'll move to closed session.